This is the Palin Update on Sarah Net Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla.
The right reason is to challenge the status quo, to serve the common good, and to leave this nation better than we found it.
Today we talk with a former Democrat who is now all for Palin. And a little bit later, the latest on the governor. We are pleased to be joined today on Sarah Net Radio by a remarkable woman. She's part of the Chicago Tea Party, and more importantly, a busy mom and a Palin supporter. And we have her on today to talk a little bit about what it's like fighting for Tea Party issues in, well, President Obama's backyard. Look, cards on the table. I love the Windy City. I'm a Chicago sports fan. Really, to me, it is the best. That said, it's also a city where, since Al Capone times, it's been driven by a huge Democrat machine. Scandal after scandal, the whole Blago deal, and now with Rahm Emanuel back in town, well, you know the drill. Sometimes dead people vote, sometimes dogs even, and usually elections have a predetermined fate. But there's a movement right now in Chi-Town, a pretty substantial one, driven by the Chicago Tea Party, and Jasmine Velasco Hauser is a big part of it. I want to welcome you to Sarah Net Radio and the Palin Update today. Jasmine, thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's an honor, Kevin. Thanks so much for having me and the rest of the Tea Party.
Now, first, let's get a little background on you, because I think it's important for our listeners to get a sense of who you are. Let's say you're not the face of the Tea Party that the media likes to portray or paint to people who don't really understand what the movement's about.
That is right. My background has primarily been as a Democrat, believe it or not. I grew up on the East Coast and actually campaigned for a Democratic governor in Virginia and other Democratic candidates, and have long voted Democrat, even voted for Al Gore, believe it or not. So before I actually saw Sarah Palin, I actually was a big supporter of Hillary Clinton and her husband's, believe it or not. So yeah, the Democratic Party has been my party, since high school, but things changed in '08.
You know, people don't realize that, and you hear a lot of candidates and potential ones like Governor Palin talk about the Tea Party, how it is made up of Republicans, Democrats, independents, and those who don't affiliate at all. And a lot of people, especially again in the media or on the left, think that that is lip service, but there really are at least former Democrats and some current Democrats and independents in this movement, are there not?
Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. Honestly, I have to tell you, the first Tea Party event I went to down in Chicago was literally after watching Rick Santelli. Here I was at home taking care of things, and I see him on CNBC, which I hadn't really watched a whole lot of, but I heard him and saw him. He really stirred something within me before you knew it. Emails are flying between me and other moms, other business owners. My husband and I own a small business together. And it just snowballed from there, really, and we all said, let's go downtown. And we got on a yellow school bus and went down the expressway into Chicago. And once I got there, I was blown away by the diversity of the people that were there. One woman I met happened to be a black woman, and she wore a T-shirt that she made herself that said, "Strong Black Conservative Woman." And I got her name. We exchanged names and numbers. Fast forward about 8 months, and we're on Facebook together. And she lives just in another suburb outside of Chicago, and it's really wonderful not only to meet her, but also another Vietnam vet who was there, who also happened to be African American. A lot of people from the Middle Eastern black countries, young, old. The bus that I was on, we had we had, I guess, college students who were locally college students and even senior citizens. So it's just been a fun, fabulous experience meeting good-hearted people who really care about what is happening in our country.
Now, I go by the Martin Luther King school of thought here, judging people by the character and not their color. Unfortunately, there's no escaping a certain reality. Appearances matter in politics. Sometimes it comes down to sex, and sometimes, yes, race. An overwhelming amount of blacks voted for Obama in 2008, and you can't tell me each and every one really agreed with his politics. Now, that said, People also voted for McCain because he was white, and it goes even beyond race. Just appearance can alter outcomes. Many said Richard Nixon won his debate with Kennedy hands down if you heard it on the radio, but on TV, folks got a different impression. So with all of that out there is a group both parties are courting here hard, and that is Hispanic Americans. We hear talk about tapping perhaps a Marco Rubio for VP in order to not only make gains with Hispanics, but also try to secure the always important state of Florida. I bring this all up because you wrote an interesting blog about Steve Bannon's film, The Undefeated, and you touched on the reaction of different races involved in this whole thing, and Sarah Palin. Can you tell us what you found?
Yeah, well, for instance, as a first-generation Hispanic myself, what I found interesting is that, oh my goodness, you have so many people who believe that the Democratic Party has a monopoly on the sort of like on Hispanics, and that's so not true. In fact, a lot of what the Tea Party represents, the three pillars, speak to Hispanic American. I mean, like you say, it's all about the quality of the character and not the outward appearance. But it's the fiscal responsibility, the constitutionally limited government, free markets. Those speak to us, and the perception that certain extreme, progressive, liberal, even Congress people are trying to paint the Tea Party's racist is absurd, and it's at least what I've encountered, and that's been a lot over the past, 2 years.
And when you got a chance to check out the film, The Undefeated, you talked to a lot of folks from all different backgrounds.
Yes. In fact, there was a man there that I didn't get to speak to directly, but the Chicago Tribune did report about him, and he was blown away by what he saw in Stephen Bannon's 2-hour, just phenomenal documentary that he produced with his own money. I mean, here you have this man who is a Harvard Business School, former Wall Streeter who went to California and made this documentary with archival footage, and it was absolutely breathtaking and eye-opening, really. But then I also met a Filipino woman as I was leaving. She had come there with her son. She, too, is just really struck by Sarah Palin's courage and standing up to forces that are really quite sinister, everything from corruption within her own party to big oil.
Jasmine, speak to women and speak to minorities, if you would. Why is Sarah Palin the right choice? Why is that someone who has the right ideas for this country, whether she runs for president or not, just what she is out there talking about day in and day out?
She is remarkable. What she has accomplished in 2.5 years of her governorship, I was blown away by 2 major pieces of legislation that she was able to basically shepherd through a minefield, which was the corruption in the Alaska government. The 2 major pieces of legislation that she championed were for the people. And those 2 pieces of legislation are called AGIA, the Alaska Gas Line Inducement Act, and ACES, the Alaska Clear and Equitable Shares, which what I find so wonderful about her is that she gets the complex issues. And you didn't see that, and that's what's so troubling to me. I used to work in the media. I used to work at CBS, PBS, and I was just appalled at the way they handled the reporting of her, and who she is and what she's about. What appeals to me and so many other women about her is that she's common sense. She makes sense. She stands up for the common person. She stands up for, even what she says, stop spending money we do not have. Stop borrowing money we can't pay back. We can't pay back China. We're already in debt to our ears. We're on, we're just rearranging the chairs on the deck of the Titanic if we're not going to change course right now. And that's why 2012 is so important. So she speaks to us because we are those. And it's funny, Kevin, she said, Mama Grizzlies. Now, that's just her speaking off of what she knows. And she's so in tune with how women feel about their own children, about their hopefully future grandchildren. And she just really speaks to people who want the best not only for our children and future generations, but also for the freedoms that we enjoy here. I mean, speaking as a first-generation Hispanic, my parents came here from South America in search of a hard work and opportunity, and those are slowly slipping away because we're becoming a nation that is being spoon-fed and made to be dependent upon the government, if you will, and she recognizes that, and she sees that, and she goes after it.
If Governor Palin gets in this race, do you think she'll force the president to provide Americans with answers in a way that some other candidates would not?
Absolutely. She is not afraid to stand. And if she is, no, let me just say, maybe she is afraid. I shouldn't speak for her, but her actions speak to me as one who is willing to put country before self. I mean, it's not for anything that she was John McCain's running mate. Country First really spoke to her. And if you read her books, Going Rogue and America by Heart, and even some other books that have been written about her, you understand that this is a woman who honors and respects the sort of the heritage that's been handed down to us. And she takes that very seriously. Do you know what I mean? When she was here in the Midwest just last month, she stopped by the War Memorial out in Missouri of the World War I soldiers, and it really touched her. And you hear that in her writings. If you look at anything from America by Heart, her second book, you see that and you get it. You know, and even looking at all her 300-plus articles that she's written on Facebook, you get the sense that this is a woman who will tackle the issues, and she'll do it with courage, and she will do it with boldness, and she will reform where we need it.
How can people learn more about the Chicago Tea Party and get involved if they're out in your area?
We have a website that people can go to. That's one way. And that website is www.teapartychicago.org. And we have a wonderful leader in Steve Stevlik. He is always every Wednesday of the month, or maybe it's the first Wednesday of every month. He has some wonderful speakers planned. We had, my goodness, it was such a powerful meeting we had back in August with the NAACP, the local leader here. He had some Lenny McAllister, who was fired from the local Chicago WVON, I think it is. It's a traditionally black radio station that came on and spoke at the Tea Party, as well as the head of the NAACP, which was involved. I won't go into the whole story, but he's always searching for these just very someone who will ask the pungent question, you know, and who will tackle the status quo. He gets in those kind of speakers.
Listen, I know Steve speaks very highly of you, too. Jasmine Velasco Hauser, thank you very much for spending some time with us today.
My pleasure, Kevin.
SarahNet
Thank
Radio.
you.
And most importantly, go Bears.
Yeah, and Sox.
Absolutely. There you go.
There you go. Thanks so much.
You got it right on that count.
Beautiful.
Jasmine Velasco Hauser, a real force in the Chicago Tea Party movement. Still no word on Governor Palin's 2012 intentions. She did hit the talk shows quite a bit in recent days, but she keeps mum on her plans for a possible White House bid. She does continue to leave the door open. And the salon, famous for Sarah Palin's hairdo, gets its own shot at the spotlight. Big Hair Alaska debuted last week on the cable channel TLC, a 2-episode reality series featuring the Beehive Beauty Shop in Wasilla. The shop is owned by Jessica Steele, Palin's longtime hairdresser. TLC, of course, also aired Sarah Palin's Alaska, which is now out on DVD. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on SarahNet Radio. Be sure to visit SarahNet.net for continuing coverage of Governor Palin, our radio show, plus plenty of articles from yours truly and our SarahNet contributors. Also, follow us on Twitter at SarahNet Radio. I want to thank everyone here at SarahNet Radio. Thanks to Jasmine Velasco Hauser, and thank you for listening today. Please be sure to join us next time for another edition of the Palin Update. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.